breaking news today. The University of Michigan, and this is an ESPN report. I see Dan Wetzel on the TV right now. It's still strange to say Dan Wetzel from ESPN, but Dan Wetzel from ESPN. This is not the president. This is something different here.
Oh, sorry, buddy.
Pete.
This is Sherrone Moore.
Yeah,
Sherrone Moore.
And
Gotcha.
that's the president's another situation. But Sherrone Moore expected to be suspended for 2 games, a self-imposed penalty by the University of Michigan for his role in the Connor Stallions scandal. Self-imposed. It's going to be for weeks 3 and 4. They play Central Michigan and Nebraska in weeks 3 and 4. So that is going to be coming down the pike. New Mexico and at Oklahoma weeks 1 and 2. But guys, I got to tell you, this pisses me off actually.
Oh! Now it does.
Now it does.
Okay.
I am so completely over this story. And I wish more than anything Michigan would fight like hell. I'm tired of this. And this was a complete nothing burger to me as a Michigan fan. And everybody around the country, you can say whatever you want. I know, Anson, you're going to probably do something, whatever. But as a Michigan fan, this is an absolute nothing situation. Michigan did nothing wrong. And maybe the cover-up is worse than the crime and deleting text messages and this, that, and the other thing. Okay, fine. But I am so completely over the Connor Stallions scandal because they did nothing wrong, in my opinion. And I wish they would fight it. I wish they would fight more. And if it said no bowls or whatever, the NCAA is a joke. The NCAA doesn't know which way they're coming or going. They have no standing in football anymore. They have no standing in college football anymore. So fight. I just can't take this anymore. I'm so over it. You want to sit 2 games, fine, but I wish they'd fight it.
Interesting. Ryan, did you ever get in trouble with your high school or your parents and they were like...
I never got in any trouble.
Never? I do believe that. But they never were like, you can choose your own punishment?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And
Never.
when you chose your own punishment, did they actually say sure, or did they laugh in your face because you chose something real easy and then they actually punished you? Because no one has actually punished this school for cheating. And this isn't just stealing signs. This is using your connection with a quarterback's coach at another college, a college that you have competition with, in order to collude into getting sideline footage from a pair of Ray-Ban camera glasses. And that's what we know of, okay? Now, how many times have we been told that Jim Harbaugh, now we know Jim Harbaugh, guy runs his organizations, his teams with an iron fist. He has his finger on the pulse from the day that he arrives, and he has it on the pulse years after he leaves. But he knew nothing. The coaching staff knew nothing. But now here we are a year later, and Sherrone Moore is getting to choose his own punishment because clearly Sherrone Moore knew. But Jim Harbaugh didn't know. Are we still sticking to that story? This is not a nothing burger, okay? This is the most protected team in college sports in terms of media protection that are unwilling to talk about this story. I can't wait for John U. Bacon to come on early because he's going to get questions from me.
What time is John U. coming on?
Anytime now. Never been asked by media since this has gone on. And I got to be honest with you. How many times are they going to punish themselves to try and stop people from looking deeper into this?
That is a question. And you know what? We may ask the same question because this is soft as hell by Michigan, in my opinion. When are they going to stop punishing themselves? They are never on the same page with each other. it just befuddles me. If this is because Sherrone Moore deleted text messages, if this is because he deleted text messages, those text messages were recovered and he handed them over. And you know what? What wasn't in there? Any communication about anything. Nothing. That was a panic move, I guess you would do if you're being investigated, whatever. I don't know. Remember the last time I was ever investigated?
Kind of like Hillary Clinton taking a hammer to hard drives? Are we talking the same type of deal? Well,
no, because those were never recovered.
Okay. So we for sure have his text messages.
You have his text messages.
And so there's no wrongdoing on his behalf, and yet
correct.
Proactively, the University of Michigan, a year after saying none of the coaches knew anything, now have proof that the coaches knew something, so they're going to choose their own punishment to proactively deter NCAA or any media organization from diving deeper. That's all that I see.
Anson, those text messages that Sherrone Moore deleted, to the best of my knowledge, were recovered, and there was no funny business included in there whatsoever.
Now, what about Connor Stallions and Blake Corum and their little joint venture business? That's pretty illegal.
This is the problem here.
Connor Stallions is the problem here.
No, he's not. Connor Stallions is just better at his job than you are at yours.
He is the best cheater that I have seen.
He's not
in
a
probably
cheater.
This century.
So
stealing signals is legal.
Yes,
it is.
Yes.
Oh, but because everyone's doing it, or by the letter of the NCAA?
Both.
Interesting.
Both.
Interesting. That's news to me.
Yeah, both.
It's news to
it's
me.
why in baseball the managers change the signals almost every game, or a couple of times within a game.
Now, but yet the Astros got in trouble because they recorded the signals, not just stealing them from second base, a la the sideline Ray-Ban camera that Connor Stallions had at Central, which cost the Central Michigan quarterbacks coach his job.
Either way, I'm just sick.
But wait, you're just glossing
Well,
over a bunch of facts.
we've got John Yu on, so I'm not going to make him. I'm not going to make him wait anymore. Everybody in the super chat, I see it too, but I'm not going to make John Yu wait another second because he's been gracious enough to give us a couple of minutes here. John, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. This must be Ryan, I assume.
This is Ryan, and John.
There we go.
I feel like this is soft by Michigan. I do. I feel like it's soft. I'm so over this story. Tell me from your perspective why you think Michigan did it, and what you make of it.
Well, it's hard to summarize quickly, I suppose, but let's do it, right? That's our job. So. Ono came in 3 years ago, I think the best honeymoon in the history of college presidents, perhaps, after President
Excuse me, John, sorry, not so much Ono, the two-game suspension but for Sherrone Moore. I'm sorry, there's so much Michigan news happening around. There's so much Michigan news happening. It's hard to keep it all straight. But the two-game self-imposed penalty for Sherrone Moore, start there. That, I feel like, is just soft by Michigan.
All I can tell you unequivocally, Ryan, is that the previous topic, Ono, has got nothing to do with sports. So there we go. All right. So I know fans of Michigan State and Ohio State are trying to say, oh, it's because of the investigation and so on. Man, the Michigan budget is $15 billion, and athletics is $250 million, more or less, about 1% to 2%. I can guarantee you that had nothing to do with any presidency. But anyway, certainly Sherrone Moore does have to do with athletics. My guess, I just don't know this part, and I guess only Michigan or NCAA could, is that they must have felt that that's a good plea bargain in this situation to make sure they don't get 3 or 4 games. But even at that, it's far short of what I know Michigan's rivals want, which is, death penalty stuff, taking away games, titles, Big Ten titles, NCAA titles, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If they're anywhere in this range, it's going to be still a slap on the wrist territory, not felony stuff. But we'll see.
And John, this obviously has to be some sort of pre-worked out deal with the NCAA, doesn't it? How do these things work? I would assume that Michigan feels like this will suffice the NCAA in order to, I guess, back down or not levy any further penalties against the university?
That's exactly right. So what do you do? I mean, again, we're not inside those rooms, so who can say? But it's an odd process. But it's not unlike what happens between prosecutors and defendants in the actual court of law, which this is not. Whereas if you think you're going to get 10 years in prison, you try to bid 5 and hope they take that without any effort on the prosecutor's side. That's the idea here, I think. So you think you might get 3 or 4 games for Sherrone. You're going to bid 2 and hope that suffices because now you're offering it, and therefore you end the protracted legal questions between the two sides. Michigan's been going on for almost 2 years now, and it's not ended soon. So my guess, my strong hunch, is Michigan's bid is 2 games to avoid 3 or 4 games. But again, I say, if you're in the category of suspended games for Sherrone Moore and not into taking away victories, not into taking away titles, then it's relatively small on the grand scale.
John, I get the fact that you're saying that they wanted to avoid a larger penalty. To me, it sounds like they wanted to avoid discovery.
Plus, the other beauty part for Michigan, if it works, is that the game is over. If the game is ongoing, then you never know what you're going to find. Don't forget that Monica Lewinsky started out with the Whitewater investigation 30 years ago that I believe was unrelated to Monica Lewinsky. But if you poke around long enough, you start finding other things sometimes. So I have no idea if that would happen here or not. But yes, what you're getting there, Maz, is closure. And probably everybody at Michigan wants closure at this point. And I'm willing to bet more than a few folks at the NCAA also want closure. It's been going on, again, for 2 years.
John, this is actually Anson, Michigan State alumni.
Oh, Anson, sorry, man.
And so when I hear you say that, I really think that the discovery is the problem because your university staunchly denied
Whose university? Mine?
I don't know if you went there, but I know John did. They staunchly denied any involvement or knowledge on the entire coaching staff's behalf. We find out a year later that was a lie. And the fact that a guy like John Harbaugh, who has his finger on the pulse
Jim
of
Harbaugh?
Jim Harbaugh, sorry. John Harbaugh has Super Bowl rings, my bad. So Jim Harbaugh is a guy that has his finger on the pulse of every team that he's ever had. He rules it with an iron fist. To me, it is laughable to insinuate the fact that he had no knowledge of this because his assistant coach, now we clearly find out a year later, after it was insisted that there was no wrongdoing, that he was guilty of wrongdoing. And I just believe that this is a proactive smokescreen to keep the nation from diving deeper into this story and possibly having championships taken. Because every time that this story is revisited, there's more and more wrongdoing, whether it's a coach at Central getting fired, now it's Sherrone getting a penalty. They came back for Jim Harbaugh. If I was the University of Michigan, I would want this to come to an end as well.
I would think that probably both sides would because, again, the NCAA's power these days is diminishing by the day. It's almost an irrelevant organization and probably will be in 3 or 4 years. So the clock is ticking on them as well. As far as who knew what and when, it's worth noting. And by the way, yes, undeniably, I went to the University of Michigan, unapologetically. But you're also talking to the guy, Anson, who got his press pass pulled by the athletic director. So I clearly have not hesitated to be critical of Michigan when needed, and I was about to with Ono until we changed topics. But anyway, so as far as what happens next, the Sherrone Moore stuff. It's worth noting that Harbaugh was asked by the NCAA to fork over his cell phone and his laptop, and against his attorney's strict orders, he did so. And in the process, they didn't find anything in there, and they've said that, the NCAA said that indicates that he knew what Stalions was doing and so on. Again, who knows? It's very hard to prove a negative. Again, like you, I know that I've been in those coaching rooms at Penn State, Michigan, and elsewhere, and they tend to know a lot of things. So I can't say for sure. It's certainly an open question. But in Sherrone Moore's case, he at first deleted texts on his cell phone, which is very ill-advised. And then they did recover them and sent them over. And apparently they're not dirty. They don't indicate more wrongdoing, is what they've said. again, I've not seen the transcripts, and you haven't either, so we don't know.
And
But nonetheless, once you delete the text, though, you're already guilty of something, and that's deleting the text. So that's why you don't destroy evidence when you're a defendant in any court case. So that was a panic move and ill-advised, obviously, and it might come back to bite them. It depends on what the NCAA does now. If they think this 2 games is enough, then my guess is they don't feel like they have a lot. If they don't feel like there's enough, then they feel like that you feel that there's a lot more there to chew on. And they're in a fighting mood as far as that goes. Yes, their power is diminishing, but they have no love lost between the NCAA and Jim Harbaugh, even though he's gone. Probably no love lost between the NCAA and Michigan itself. So if they feel they can get more, they'll try to get it. It's my guess.
Talking to John U. Bacon, to let Anson know, I too went to Michigan, and I cannot even get a text message returned from the university. So I too have been critical. Right. So we're on the same page. So
I'm still good with them.
Right, Maz is the only one that's good with him, and he's paying Michigan State for his daughters to go there. Either way, John, let's talk about what we originally had you scheduled to come on for is Santa Ono. I was shocked by this, and I read your post on X last night, and maybe most of the people that you talked to, and again, I'm not dialed in like you are, but it didn't sound like there was any love lost there, and this was not a surprise to many there.
Not as surprising as perhaps it looks on the outside. The weird thing is that the Regents re-upped Ono in the fall to raise his pay, extended his contract to basically make him a 10-year president, which is the usual term or these days. And yet they weren't all that happy with him from what I had heard. So that was interesting in itself. I don't know why you re-up him and raise his pay if you're not that happy, but it's hard to get a president, and it's a real chore. It takes about a year or two. But then in October, he had already put his hat in the ring for Oxford University in England and also for Harvard, and I believe you guys know about that. And I don't think he got a sniff in either place. But Florida came after him in October with a bump in pay, but not a big bump in pay. Came back to him again in January and February with the $3 million offer you now see. And I think it looks better then. So it is about 2 to 3 times more money than he's making at Michigan. If he thinks it's going to be hassle-free, then good look at Florida. But he's a guy who really wants to be liked. And therefore, his honeymoons at Cincinnati and British Columbia, University of British Columbia, and Michigan, the honeymoons have all been great. And after 3 or 4 years, the welcome kind of wears off, which seems to be the pattern here. So anyway, and then it has been a tumultuous time. COVID is not his fault, but he's got to deal with it. The GEO strike, that's the graduate employee organization. That's basically graduate student assistants and people like that. Then what else? Then the Palestinian protests and so on, and now the Trump stuff. I mean, it's been a pretty crazy time, no matter who's the president. This guy's kind of conflict averse.
And John, just to pick up on that, and just to pick up on the last point, doesn't matter who the president is. I mean, it feels like no matter where you stand, whoever is a president of a college university this time is going to have some serious conflict to deal with. And I guess, if you're not in line with the regents, I mean, that just makes it harder. I do feel like they were in line on certainly the way the strikes were handled. But I don't know. I mean, it just feels like it's a tough time on college campuses right now. No?
That's a very good point, which is why potentially great candidates like Ann Curzan, who used to be the dean of LSNA and did a very good job at that. Her grandfather, for you Michigan State guys like Anson, is John Hanna, I've argued in print in one of my books, Fourth and Long, one of the greatest presidents in the history of higher education in the United States. He took Michigan State in 1941 with 6,000 students, no Big Ten affiliation. And when he retired in 1969, 40,000 students, Big Ten, part of the Association of American Universities, a very elite research university club. And he did it all. That's the statue on campus. That's his granddaughter's Ann Curzan. I understand she has no interest in this track, which I can't blame her. So it's your point, Ryan. That job has become almost undoable. And by the way, all those conflicts, that's before you get to donors.
Right.
By the way.
Right.
and politicians in Lansing or D.C. and everything else you've got to deal with as part of the job. So automatically,
What a
his
headache.
jobs. I mean, I know $3 million is a lot of money for Florida. I grant you that. But man, I would not trade, and I bet you wouldn't either.
Oh my gosh! I mean, it just feels like such a step down. No offense whatsoever to the University of Florida, but when you're talking when you're talking about one of the great institutions in American education,
Anson doesn't think so.
I mean, he's got. Well,
I have never ridiculed the higher education that Michigan offers.
I mean, the University of Michigan speaks for itself. I will say. I thought Lee Bollinger, who was the president when I was a student there, Lee Bollinger, when I thought he had a short tenure, but Santa, no, my goodness,
3 years,
2.5, really.
Yeah.
Well, I've done the homework on that one, it turns out, Ryan, and that is, in 200 years at the University of Michigan, that is by far the shortest tenure ever. The only one who's really close is a guy who died in office after 5 years.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Hey, John, thanks so much.
Last one, John. John, go to the Michigan State side of things for a second. Alan Haller was not re-signed as their athletic director.
Right.
What went on with him, and what are they trying to do?
I think it was that relatively simple. No one's quite saying, but I've got good sources there. I'm sure you do too. It was not anything about integrity scandals, any of that. They made that very clear in the announcement. He's still on campus for 2 weeks. If you're bum rushing the guy, you give him a box.
Yep.
So, no, they're not doing that. So it's a pretty relatively smooth transition. I think it really boils down to NIL. And in men's basketball and in football, they just were not getting it done. You cannot compete at that level. Now, Izzo is Izzo. And I have a high regard for him personally and professionally. He clearly can do a great job with damn near nothing, which is what they've had. But when your captain walks off a week after the tournament ends and a great run, you know you've got a problem with NIL. And Haller was not up to that part of the job. Man, it's a new, like we said about being presidents, Ryan and Anson, that job has changed a lot, and so has this job. And now you see schools getting general managers for football, basketball, and so on. I bet that happens in the Big Ten as well.
Pretty incredible stuff.
Thanks, John.
John U. Bacon, we can't thank you enough for joining us on a big breaking news day when it comes to the University of Michigan. Santa Ono leaves for Florida as president, and of course, Michigan is going to self-impose a 2-game suspension for head coach Sherrone Moore.
Is that the spring game included?
Oh, my goodness. New York Times bestselling author, Michigan historian, among so many other things. Follow him on social media at John U. Bacon. John, thanks so much,
John.
my friend. And you, man, I wish I handled myself with Anson like you did.
John, I have to say, I'm impressed in how fair you have been in this conversation. I am curious. I have one question for you. Game 4, was that a foul on Josh Hart when Tim Hardaway took that 3 in the corner?
Yes, it was.
Foul.
Yes, it was.
Thank you.
Yes, of course.
My man.
There you go. And
Thanks,
by the way,
John U.
Anson,
Yes.
if you think I'm being fair, read the book. I swear to God, the books are fair. I swear to God.
Send me one, an autograph, and I'll put that thing down over the weekend.
I'll even flag the good parts for you. How's that?
Help me, man. I only have a Michigan State education, you know.
Oh, no. That's not my point. That's not my point at all. And as far as that goes, like I said earlier.
That's how a Spartan would take it, though, John.
Well, it's not a great university. It is a world-class university.
There it is.
One of the top 70 research universities in the world. That's not an opinion. That's a fact.
Hey, I got accepted to
There we
both
go.
schools. I grew up Maize and Blue, and then I
stop it.
visited. And
All right, get the hook.
All right.
I chose East Lansing, man.
Get the hook.
Thanks, John.
See you, Johnny.
Appreciate
We'll
it.
send you a book, Anson.
All right, buddy.
He's going to send you a book.
I love it, man. Appreciate you.
I love it. Great stuff. Many New
Are you
York
a Michigan
Times,
fan now?
Many New York Times bestselling
I'm a
books.
fan of John U.
Bacon.
Yeah, you should
Go
be.
ahead and look it up. John U. Bacon, one of the greats. And one of the most fair people out there. When you
Very
talk
fair.
about covering, an institution that you are a part of, probably I'd say John U. Bacon is more fair covering Michigan than just about any other former alumni covering their own institution.
Yeah, no argument here.
I would have to say that. I want to get to some of these super chats because
I was just going to go there.
And the
man.
chat-
they're piling up.
Please, go for it.
You know, before,
You are the super chat king.
Hey,
so
By the way, the chat wants Tiger talk.
we're getting it next.
All right.
Well, I'm glad that they do because I brought in a bunch of vintage Tigers cards today, as well as a 1991 Tigers schedule. We've, of course, got the Braylon Edwards rookie over here, which he's going to sign for
Anson,
you.
can I just say quickly though, for the chat and for everybody in the chat, we did plan on leading with the Tigers today.
Yep.
If you look at our show sheet, we
There it
planned
is.
on leading with the Tigers, and then all this breaking news stuff happened. So we are going to get to Tigers next.
Got a whole bunch of 80s vintage baseball here.
Don't forget about the mic.
Oh, yeah. 80s vintage baseball there. Of course, the signed autographed Braylon rookie. Going to get you this Pog set from the 90s Viper squad, including John Craighead himself. A little Stack rookie, Jerry Stackhouse, some old school. There's a Pat Swilling in there, as well as some Red Wings cards. A little bit of that Woodward
Pat
swag.
Swilling, he made Joe Schmidt take his number out of
56.
retirement.
Right.
And
For no reason.
Trying to take retired jerseys is the de jour,
Yes.
de jour these days. But get your super chat in. You're going to get an opportunity to get a slice of that wheel. Pete will bring it up here in about 20, 30 minutes. You get a chance to take a look at it. Every super chat's going to get you in there. And you can buy multiple opportunities. And, of course, we're going to read your super chat, which we will go through real quick here. Jason Kenyon, who won last week. Congrats, Maz. Tennessee is so much fun. I love going to Franklin and surrounding areas for rodeos. Broadway is so much fun as well. I-40 going to NC is beautiful. That Dragon Tail run is so fun. Shout out Jason Kenyon. John Martin, who must be a Spartan, although my name is Hanson.
Let him have it,
Let me
Hanson.
just tell you, Umbop was 20 years of, to this day, guys introduce themselves and they hear my name and they start singing.
Umbop.
Yes, exactly.
Ba-ba-ba-ba.
Shout out John Martin. He says, let's go, Hanson. Jason Kenyon again with the $20 this time. Horse racing is fun. Literally, that horse has only run that fast for the first 4 years of my life. Raised on horse tracks in 8 states before being brought to Michigan.
He's
Then
a
I was-
rodeo cowboy.
we saw some awesome
Kenyon.
photos of him last week.
did.
Then I was introduced to rodeo and bucking horses. Y'all got the picks. Freddie Felt, legend. Woodward Sports legend.
Yeah, Freddie.
Sparties and Buckeyes acting like Angela Lansbury from Murder, She Wrote. Well, someone needs to investigate it.
Wow.
Maz will get that old school reference. I do too, bro. Angela Lansbury, come on, man.
Murder,
She
she wrote.
How about them Tigers, says Michael Wary with another super chat. Best record in the AL, 4th best in the MLB. We are going to dedicate plenty of time to them. Rando Smalls, another legend in the chat here, dropping $10. Tigers best pitching in all of baseball. World Series bound, baby. Bless them.